The XLNR colony was one of the most advanced settlements in the Andromeda sector. It had stood for over 300 years, a beacon of trade, diplomacy, and progress. Ships came and went, carrying exotic goods and rare minerals. The colony's defense systems were top-tier, protected by planetary shields, orbital cannons, and a fleet of patrol ships. Nothing short of a full-scale war could threaten it. Yet, in the dead silence of space, Selnar vanished overnight. The last transmission. Admiral Zekthar of the Velkar Dominion leaned forward as he replayed the last known transmission from the colony. The message had arrived 12 hours ago, but it was barely a whisper, corrupted, fragmented, as if something had scrambled the signal mid-transmission. "This is Selnar Command. We are under attack. Repeat, unidentified vessel." Static filled the rest of the audio. Then, a single line cut through the noise. "It is here." Then, silence. No explosions, no distress beacons, no SOS signals. Just pure emptiness. Admiral Zekthar's claws tightened around the armrests of his command chair. He turned to his second-in-command, a young officer named Velarak. "How many ships were stationed there?" he asked. Velarak swallowed nervously. "At least 500 patrol ships, 30 dreadnoughts, 2 planetary shield generators, all gone." Zekthar's red eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Even the strongest armadas cannot erase an entire colony without leaving evidence." But Selnar was gone. No wreckage, no lifeboats, no survivors. It was as if the colony had never existed. Investigating the silence, the Dominion sent 3 scout ships to investigate. Each ship was commanded by battle-hardened captains, trained to detect enemy movement and stealth attacks. As they approached Selnar's last known coordinates, the lead scout, Commander Vextor, activated the long-range scanners. The system was empty. No debris, no radiation spikes, no battle scars. Yet the gravity readings suggested something massive had moved through here. Vextor frowned. "All ships, increase sensor range to maximum. Look for cloaked vessels or..." His voice cut out. The 2 remaining scouts watched in horror as the lead ship flickered out of existence. No explosion, no flash, just gone. "By the stars. What is that?" one of the remaining captains screamed. Something invisible moved in the void. It cast no shadow, made no sound, but its presence was undeniable. Then, one by one, the remaining scout ships vanished. And again, silence. Panic in the Dominion High Command. When the scouts failed to return, the Dominion Council was thrown into chaos. "We are under attack. But from whom? How can an entire fleet be erased without a fight? Is it the humans?" That last question made the room fall silent. The humans, they were dangerous, but they had never attacked unprovoked. A diplomat scoffed. "That is ridiculous. Humans would never deploy a weapon like this." A deep voice from the shadows interrupted. "Unless it is not under their control." All eyes turned to General Xorvek, an aged warrior who had fought the humans during the last Galactic War. His reptilian face was unreadable, but his tone carried certainty. There was a rumor. A secret warship built by the humans centuries ago. The dreadnought with technology so advanced that it cooled. He hesitated. Erase entire civilizations without a trace. Silence fell over the room once more. The only sound was the faint humming of the Dominion's War Council chamber. "That's just a myth," one council member finally said. "There's no proof that such a ship ever existed." General Xorvek's eyes darkened. "Then explain what just happened." The final message. Just as the meeting reached a boiling point, an emergency transmission arrived. It was heavily distorted. A weak, terrified voice whispered through the static. "If anyone is listening, run. It's still here. It's watching us. We never even saw it. We just..." A sharp, high-pitched tone cut the message short. Then, The Dominion Fleet headquarters lost all contact with the Selenar system. The Velkar Dominion was in chaos. A colony had vanished overnight, and now 3 scout ships had disappeared without a trace. The Dominion Council scrambled for answers, but there was nothing to analyze. No wreckage, no enemy signals, not even a warning shot. Something was hunting them. The emergency meeting. Admiral Zekthar stood in the Dominion War Council chamber, surrounded by holographic projections of missing ships and lost colonies. The most powerful warlords and strategists in the Empire stared at the floating images, their expressions grim. "We are not dealing with an ordinary fleet," Zekthar said. "Whatever this is, it's something we've never seen before." A deep voice rumbled through the chamber, or something we refused to believe existed. The voice belonged to General Xorvek, the oldest and most experienced warrior in the room. His scared scales and battle-worn armor told stories of wars long past. "There are whispers of a lost human warship," he said, his tone heavy. "A vessel so powerful it was erased from history itself." Some of the younger officers scoffed. "A myth," one of them muttered. Xorvek's golden eyes glowed. "Then explain how an entire fleet disappeared without a fight." The chamber fell silent. "What do we do then?" a nervous diplomat asked. Zekthar's voice was cold. "We send a war fleet. The fleet arrives." Within hours, a Dominion battle group was assembled. 50 warships, 5 dreadnoughts, and 2 command carriers. Enough firepower to destroy an entire planet. As they jumped into the Selenar system, the fleet emerged into absolute darkness. There was no wreckage, no radiation, no signs of a battle. The colony was just gone. Admiral Zekthar sat in his command throne, eyes locked onto the void. His sensors screamed in protest, unable to find anything. "Where are the remains?" One officer whispered. "Planets don't just disappear." Then something moved. The first attack. It started as a flicker, a distortion on the screen, a shadow without form. Then one of the outer warships vanished. No explosion, no alarm. One moment, it was there. The next, it was gone. What was that? A captain roared. The scanners picked up nothing. No enemy ships, no energy signatures, just silence. Then another ship disappeared. Then another. Panic spread through the fleet. Weapons locked onto empty space, firing at shadows. Lasers and torpedoes exploded into the void, hitting nothing. The cold dread filled Zekthar's chest. They were being hunted. A message from the darkness. Suddenly, the comms cracked to life. A voice, calm, deep, human, echoed through every ship. "You should not have come here." The Dominion officers froze. "Identify yourself," Zekthar growled. The voice did not answer. Instead, the ship's lights flickered, and for the first time, they saw it. A massive silhouette emerged from the darkness. A warship larger than any Dominion dreadnought. Smooth, black metal. No insignia. No markings. A ghost from another time. Then the scanners went dark. The warship spoke again. "This is your only warning." Then the first Dominion ship exploded. Admiral Zekthar watched in horror as one of his dreadnoughts exploded into a ball of fire. The massive warship that had just appeared in the darkness didn't fire lasers, torpedoes, or railguns. It simply erased anything in its way. "Full retreat," Zekthar roared. But it was too late. The Dominion fleet scattered, warships desperately trying to escape the silent predator that had emerged from the void. One by one, they vanished, not destroyed in battle, but erased as if they had never existed. The legend resurfaces. General Xorvek clenched his fists as he watched the battle from his command ship. He had heard stories of a lost human warship, a relic from an ancient war, but he never thought it was real. "Admiral," he said in a low voice, "we are facing the ghost of a forgotten war." Zekthar turned to him sharply. "What do you mean?" Xorvek's golden eyes gleamed. There was once a war between the humans and an unknown force, far more terrifying than even the Dominion. The younger officers scoffed. Human myths won't save us, General. Zorvek ignored them. The humans built a ship, a warship so powerful that even they feared it, but it vanished before the war ended. Some say it disappeared into deep space, waiting. Zekthar's throat went dry. And now it has returned. The Phantom's next move. The unknown warship moved without sound, without traceable energy, like a shadow given form. It didn't need to chase the Dominion fleet. It simply appeared wherever it wanted. A cruiser tried to jump away, vanished mid-jump. A battleship charged its weapons, erased before it could fire. The Dominion officers panicked. We can't even hit it. Zekthar made a desperate decision. All ships, fire on my command. Blind fire. The entire fleet unleashed a storm of firepower into the void. Lasers, plasma bolts, torpedoes, everything they had. And then, nothing. The warship was gone. A message from the dead. Silence filled the battlefield. The Dominion ships, battered and terrified, floated in empty space. Had they won? Had it left? Then the ship's comms flickered. The same human voice echoed through the fleet. We are not your enemy. Zekthar's blood ran cold. But if you come here again, a pause, you will cease to exist. Then every Dominion warship's systems shut down for 3 seconds. When they rebooted, the warship was gone. The Dominion fleet drifted in silence, their systems still rebooting from the mysterious shutdown. Admiral Zekthar's claws tapped against the command panel, his breathing slow and measured. The warship was gone, but its warning still echoed in his mind. You will cease to exist. It wasn't just a threat. It was a promise. Zekthar turned to his crew. Did anyone track it? One of his officers hesitated before shaking their head. Negative, Admiral. It just vanished. He clenched his jaw. A ship with that much power, that much control over the battlefield, couldn't just disappear, unless it wasn't meant to be found. The fear in the Council. Back on the Dominion homeworld, the High Council gathered in panic. The entire warfleet had been sent to wipe out the remnants of an abandoned human colony. Instead, they barely returned alive. And now, something far worse had awakened. The Council leader, Grand Strategist Xalaric, narrowed his reptilian eyes. We have ruled for centuries, undefeated. And now, a single human ship threatens us. Lorvek, the war general, stepped forward. It is not just a ship. It is something more, something beyond us. A younger officer scoffed. The humans don't have this kind of power. If they did, they would have used it in the war. Zorvek shook his head. That's what I thought. Until I saw it erase ships without a trace. Silence fell over the council chamber. Then Xalaric spoke. If it exists, it can be destroyed. The shadow returns. Far beyond Dominion space, deep in the void, the warship watched. It had no crew, no captain, only a mission that had been waiting for centuries. Its sensors scanned the Dominion warfleets, calculating, analyzing, preparing. For now, it had given them a warning. But the next time, there would be no warning. There would be no escape. The Dominion fleet scrambled to recover. The High Council had issued an immediate directive. Find the warship, destroy it. But how do you hunt something that refuses to be seen? The search begins. Admiral Zekthar stood in the war room, staring at the holomap of the sector. Every Dominion warship had been mobilized. Patrol routes were doubled. Sensor sweeps increased. And yet, there was nothing. No trace of the ship, no distress signals, no debris, no hyperspace trails. It was as if it had never existed. A younger officer, Exceltalk, spoke hesitantly. Admiral, what if we are not hunting it? What if it is hunting us? Zekthar didn't answer. He didn't need to. Because deep down, he already knew. The human archives. Across the stars, in a hidden base buried beneath a dead planet, a secret facility blinked to life. The lone AI, forgotten by time, activated ancient human records. Pro-GCT silent re-CKOing. Status. Active. Mission. Termination of the Dominion. The screen flickered. Logs from the old war played. The Dominion had attacked a human colony centuries ago, but they never knew the truth. That colony was a weapons facility, and when the Dominion wiped it out, the humans never got the chance to activate their greatest weapon. Until now. The trap is set. The Dominion's strongest warfleet patrolled the sector. Thousands of ships. Millions of warriors. A message pinged on their consoles. A single word. Detected. Alarms blared. Weapons powered up. Shields engaged. Zekthar gripped his command chair. Where is it? The answer came too late. The darkness of space twisted. And then, the warship appeared. Not jumping in. Not decloaking. Just appearing. Like it had always been there. Waiting. Watching. Preparing. A second message appeared on their screens. Mission active. Begin, TerraMINHN. The warship moved without sound, without hesitation. It did not broadcast warnings. It did not demand surrender. It simply executed. The first strike. Admiral Zekthar barely had time to react before the first blast hit. Not a beam. Not a missile. Something else. A Dominion battleship folded in on itself, its shields useless against the sheer force that struck it. The crew didn't even have time to scream. One moment, they existed. The next, they didn't. Panic spread through the fleet. What is it firing? One officer screamed. No one knew, because the ship wasn't in their records. A machine of vengeance. Across the Dominion's command network, AI processes activated. Tactical systems tried to analyze the impossible. This warship should not exist. It was human, but it was more advanced, more dangerous, more aware. Zekthar clenched his fists. We outnumber it. We will crush it. His fleet responded. Thousands of weapons locked on. They fired. A storm of plasma, torpedoes, and disruptor beams ripped through space. They never hit. The warship wasn't there. It had moved. Or maybe, it was never where they thought it was. The final broadcast. Across the Dominion network, a voice spoke. It was calm. Cold. Mission parameters met. Judgment is now irreversible. And then, every Dominion screen flickered. A message appeared. Greater than Pro-GCT silent, WARI-CKONNG. Termination phase. Admiral Zekthar felt fear for the first time in his life. Because this wasn't a war. This was an execution. The Dominion fleet was crumbling. What had started as a glorious display of power was now a desperate fight for survival. And they were losing. The final orders. Admiral Zekthar stood on his command deck, watching in horror as ship after ship vanished. Some were destroyed in fiery explosions. Others simply ceased to exist. His officers screamed, shouting reports. None of it mattered. Because in the center of it all, the warship moved like a phantom. It didn't dodge. It didn't evade. It simply existed where the enemy was weakest. And every shot it fired was a death sentence. All remaining ships form a perimeter. Do not let it advance. Zekthar roared. The last 100 ships of the Dominion moved as one. A wall of firepower. A final stand. The ghost of Earth. The warship stopped. For the first time, it ceased its relentless march forward. The Dominion sensors focused on it, desperately trying to understand. Then, across every enemy screen, a symbol appeared. A long-dead language, a name forgotten by history. U.S. Judgment. And beneath it, a message. The sins of your empire have been recorded. You will not escape them. Admiral Zekthar felt something ancient in his bones. This ship, it wasn't just human. It was a relic of war, a weapon sent to erase threats. And now, they were the target, the end of a fleet. The Dominion opened fire, everything they had. But the warship was done playing. A single pulse erupted from its core, a silent wave of white light. It touched the Dominion fleet, and time ended. The mighty warships crumbled like dust. Not wreckage, not debris, just nothing. Zekthar barely had time to whisper a curse before his own ship faded into oblivion. One survivor. Far away, hidden in the wreckage of a shattered moon, a single Dominion scout vessel remained. Its captain, a young officer, trembled as he watched the impossible. His ship was undetected. He alone had seen what no one would believe. The warship didn't pursue him. It simply turned and vanished into the void. Mission complete. The legend begins. The Dominion never recovered. Their empire fell within months. No one knew where the warship came from. No one knew where it went. But one thing was clear. Humanity had sent a message, and the galaxy would never forget.